and welcome to a special edition of Ask a Ranger. My name is Ranger Leah. I'm a park ranger at Kings Mountain National Military Park, and for this special edition of Ask a Ranger, I am teaming up with the rangers of the other southern campaign of the American Revolution Parks Group sites to bring you an epic Battle of the Battles, where we will each pick a battle to be able to answer the question, what is the most significant battle of the backcountry? Now there's one big catch in all of this. We cannot pick any of the battles protected at our sites. Who will emerge victorious? You decide. Now I will be kicking us off, and for my answer to this question, I offer you the Battle of Musgrove Mill. On August 18th or 19th, 1780, Isaac Shelby, Elijah Clark, and James Williams, and a force of 200 Patriot militia totally defeat a numerically superior force of 500 Loyalist militia and provincial regulars. Now for some background, in the months leading up to Musgrove Mill, Isaac Shelby and Elijah Clark and their Patriot militia have been leading Patrick Ferguson and his Loyalist militia and provincial regulars all over the South Carolina backcountry on a wild goose chase, constantly staying one step ahead, until finally on August 8th they stopped to give battle at Wofford's Ironworks, what's now Spartanburg County. They ambush and send Ferguson's advance guard reeling, send them smarting, before they slip through Ferguson's fingers and retreat into North Carolina to rest and to refit. They ride into Charles McDowell's camp up on the Broad River of North Carolina, so right up in that corner there. And one of McDowell's scouts lets them know that 200 Tory militia are guarding the ford at Musgrove Mill down in the South Carolina backcountry on the Enoree River. Only 200. Now, Musgrove Mill sits right here on the Enoree River, about 30 miles north of 96, where the British garrison is. Now, Patriot commanders know that Patrick Ferguson and the main British force are in that same area, but they recognize the value of being able to strike deep in Loyalist territory in an area that is being patrolled by Ferguson and where he's trying to recruit. It'll send a message to the Loyalists in the area that the British can't protect them, and it will also show that the British and the Loyalists and Ferguson do not control the South Carolina backcountry. So on the evening of August 17th or 18th, 200 hand-picked mounted men saddle up and ride through the night. They're trying to avoid Ferguson's main force, so they do a night ride. And they ride 40 miles, end up at the Enoree River on the next morning, about half a mile from the Tory camp that's on the Enoree River there at Musgrove's Mill. Now, Shelby sends out 6 scouts to do some reconnaissance, and they stumble on a Loyalist patrol. There's a quick skirmish, and that Loyalist patrol gallops back to alert the main force. Now, at about the same time, Shelby and Clark and James Williams, a South Carolina militia officer, learn from a local man that the Tory militia have been reinforced. They have gotten reinforcements of 200 provincial regulars from the New Jersey Volunteers and Delancey's New York Battalion, and 100 South Carolina Royalists under the command of Colonel Alexander Ennis, who is an experienced officer. Now at this point they realize they can't attack, but they also can't retreat. Their horses are absolutely exhausted after a 40-mile ride. So they hurriedly build a defensive breastwork of fallen logs and brush just up the road, up a hill from Musgrove's Ford. And they station Shelby on the right flank, Williams is in the middle, and Clark is on the left flank. They have about 20 mounted men hidden from view on each flank there, and 40 men are held in reserve. Now they realize they have to draw the Loyalists toward them to their defensive position, so Captain Shadrach Inman and 25 mounted Patriots volunteer to ride down to the ford and draw the Loyalists up. So they ride down to the ford, They draw the Loyalists out. When the Loyalists see the Patriots retreating up, they believe they've got them on the run. So Ennis and the Loyalists start charging up the hill, bayonets attached, bugles sounding, drums beating. About 70 yards from the breastwork, the Patriots release a volley, and it staggers the Loyalist advance. However, most of these troops are disciplined troops. They're provincial regulars, so they pretty quickly regroup, and they start attacking again. And they push Shelby particularly hard on that right flank. They push him hard enough that the line begins to bend. So Clark, when he realizes that, he orders the 40 men in reserve to go over and provide aid to Shelby to reinforce that line where it's bending. At about the same time, a man from the Watauga settlement named Smith, William Smith, a rifleman, good shot, takes a shot at Colonel Alexander Ennis, who has been directing all of the Loyalist movements. He shoots Colonel Ennis from his horse. Shelby, recognizing an advantage, charges across the breastwork with his men, emitting Indian war whoops. Colonel Abraham de Peister, when he hears these, gives these men, Shelby's men, the nickname the Damned Yelling Boys, which will come back again at Kings Mountain. So they charge over the breastwork, and at the same time, the 20 mounted men that are on their flank charge in at the same time, recognizing that opportunity. And Clark also sees it and charges with his men across the breastwork, pushing the Loyalists back. It becomes hand-to-hand combat, fierce hand-to-hand combat. The battle lasts almost an hour and a half. Fierce fighting. The Loyalists lose several officers in the midst of all of this fighting, and after that hour and a half, they start to break. And it pretty quickly turns into a rout where they are running back to the ford. The Patriots are in full pursuit. At the close of the battle, the Loyalists have lost 63 dead, 90 have been wounded, 70 are taken prisoner. On the Patriot side, 4 Patriots have been killed and 9 are wounded. Now the Patriots are elated at this victory. They propose pushing ahead and attacking 96. And they're on their way. They're riding towards 96 when they get the news, they hear the news about the disastrous defeat at Camden, where a Continental Army under Gates has been wiped out by Lord Cornwallis. So they decide it's time to flee to safety. They ride over 60 miles, ride day and night, pursued by Ferguson's troops until they finally stop the next day after putting 60 miles between them and Musgrove Mill. Now on that day, Isaac Shelby proposes raising an army of Overmountain men and backcountry militia to put an end to Patrick Ferguson. They recognize the threat of Ferguson, this kind of officer who's recruiting Loyalist militia and sitting down with people in their homes to do it. He's charming, so he's dangerous. So at that point, they establish a courier service to keep each other apprised of Ferguson's movements. So why is Musgrove Mill the most significant battle in the backcountry? Well, first, it shows that Ferguson and the Loyalists and the British do not control the Carolina backcountry. They will not hold it. The Patriots will not cede it over to them. And second, and probably most importantly, it sets the stage for the Kings Mountain campaign, when they establish that courier service to keep each other apprised of Ferguson's movements. That will eventually lead, just about a month later, to the March of the Overmountain Men, with Isaac Shelby, John Sevier, William Campbell, linking up with Patriot militia in the Piedmont to put an end to Ferguson, ultimately at Kings Mountain. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that I've convinced you guys that Musgrove Mill is the most significant battle in the backcountry, but I will let my fellow Rangers try to convince you otherwise. Ranger William will be up next with the Overmountain Victory National Historic Trail, followed by Ranger Roland down at Cowpens National Battlefield, and Ranger Adrian will close us out at 96 National Historic Site. Thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you again soon.